I love it. It's either going to work or it's not going to work.
Alright guys, so I'm out here talking with Matt Trask today, good friend, and he just volunteered to be my guinea pig because we're trying this format out with this video. I thought it'd be kind of cool to take a walk and talk, and I decided on the subject. He had zero prep, he has no idea what we're talking about, because that's half of our life is not knowing what we're talking about.
I'm just trying not to fall down as we walk.
But I decided a subject as I told in that we were going to talk about building something from an idea, because that's something we both are kind of doing. It's kind of something we're both doing.
Kind of, yeah.
My goal with this is to try to make it to where we're not so much looking at the camera, so you can watch where you're walking.
Sure.
So maybe we need to keep peeking back to make sure we're looking when we're in the shot, but I think it'll work out pretty good.
Yeah.
So to start off, for those that don't know who Matt Trask is, I know the big thing I know him for is he has this YouTube show called Old Faithful. Why don't you tell us where you got the idea for that?
Well,
I'll go first. It gets narrow. I almost killed him. It gets easier over here.
Okay.
Now we got a trail. We just had to get to the trail.
I'm conversationalist. I'm the oldest of 12 kids. I grew up on a ranch out by Wasta, and not that makes you more of a conversationalist, but for some reason, well, in some ways it does. We like to play games like Name All Them Kids out in the country, get together on Hearing Aid Row, as we call it, in an old cafe, name all those kids, or what was her maiden name, or by that old tree, stuff like that. And I also love guitars, and every guitar has a story. And that was the idea.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So basically what he does is he gets, and I was honored to be a guest on his show for one episode. It was his favorite episode, of course.
It actually was really super good. Every episode has blown me away. And this guy here, his story is truly amazing, and the guitar was one of a kind as well.
It really was. That was the coolest thing about it.
Yeah.
But so I got to be on his show one time, and basically what he does is he basically brings on guests and he talks to them about lets them bring on their choice instrument, their Old Faithful.
Right.
Their Old Faithful, which I like Tanner's, by the way. He has Old Faithful on it. That was cool. That was really cool. And basically we just tell our story about where we came from and what got us into music and why that guitar meant so much to us. And that was the coolest idea that I've seen in a while for a structured show like that. It's very low key, it's very laid back. You just kind of kick back and have a conversation. And that's kind of, as I was looking at one of the things I'm working on right now, I got a friend of mine out in Belfouche that we're working on a show called First You, and that's what you're the guinea pig for.
Oh, I see.
And basically I'm trying to see if this format will work, because I was worried about how stable is the camera going to be. I was worried about all these little things. So I am the first me on First You? Something like that. More like you're like the preview, because the show hasn't even started yet. You're the pilot.
I'm the pilot.
You're like the unofficial pilot.
Hell yeah.
You're the one I'm going to screw everything up with.
Right. Well, if I could tell a story, and I'll try and keep it short. You mentioned about Tanner's guitar.
Yeah.
Saying Old Faithful. They kept that hidden from me. They wanted it to be a surprise. And that day,
and I saw that. I could see it in your reaction. Like, your reaction was literally surprised that it was on there.
Even more than that, on the way there, I have a job. I'm not making $1 million as a celebrity. On my way from my job to the taping of the episode, I turned a corner too sharp. Long story short, stuck an amplifier through my back windshield.
Ooh.
So
that'll scare you.
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend not doing that. Everything in the back seat hopped. The cab is somewhat pressurized. I literally thought somebody shot at me.
Oh, that would scare the crap out of me.
It really did. But anyway, the point is, I was having a terrible day until I saw that guitar with in fact,
it made your entire world. Right?
It really did.
Because it was everything the show was about. Think about it.
It really was.
And it wasn't a fancy guitar. I don't think it was too fancy of a guitar. I can't remember. It wasn't anything over the top.
It was not a fancy guitar.
It was just what it was.
But it was the one he started on. It had a lot of patina. It was a cool guitar on its own.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. Honest to God, I haven't watched that episode. But
it came out good. I like it.
I remember being distracted until that point. I was like,
well,
how am I going to pay for the window and da 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 da? And it just completely brought me back. It was It was so nice.
I love that a lot. So I guess now the question I have.
Thank you, Tanner, and thank you, Johnny.
So now with like trying to figure out how to bring value to everyone who watches here. Everybody that's watching, I assume has something they want to do
Right.
that they're scared to do for whatever reason.
Right.
Like what was the biggest thing you would say held you back from doing this sooner?
Well, I have a lot of theories, and I could go on and on about that. And I've thought a lot about this question or questions like that, Harley. I don't know that we're all meant to be entertainers. I, honest to God, don't know if I'm meant to be an entertainer. I would like to be an entertainer. But the question I always ask myself is, because you have the people who say you can't. Quite often, the person who says you can't the most is yourself.
Definitely.
You're very aware of that.
Yep, definitely.
The only question I ever ask myself is, did you try?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said before we did this, it'll either work or it won't.
Yeah, because we don't even know if the audio is going to pick up. We might be talking. Either way, we had a good conversation, so it's a win-win.
We did have a good conversation.
The one thing I will say, like to piggyback on that, see, that's a nice little stopping point.
Oh, hell yeah.
The one thing I will say to piggyback on that
Right.
is when I was a kid, I remember one day my grandmother. Hold on a second, I got an idea. We'll sit down for a second.
All right.
Like I was saying, to piggyback on what you were just talking about there. When I was a kid, I remember I used to sing in the Rick car a lot, and I couldn't sing a lick. I was a terrible singer. Terrible singer. And when I remember one day just overhearing my grandmother talking to my dad, my grandma on my musical side, was the nicest, sweetest lady in the world. She doesn't say things to her.
Right.
She probably didn't know I could hear her, but she was talking to my dad, and she said, "You better get that boy to pick up an instrument, because he'll never be a singer." And I think those are the moments.
Right.
Those are the moments. I'm gonna pose a little closer just in case.
Okay.
I just thought about the fact that that little mic's probably far away.
Right.
Experimenting. But I think those are the moments that pick away at the ones that don't make it, the ones that aren't meant to be entertainers.
Sure.
Like, and I think they still could be, but I think it's hard to get past that doubt of hearing other people's opinions. I think more people don't pursue stuff because they're worried about what other people think. Meaning, I have that motto, like there's another, I don't know if you follow my stuff that close, but I always have this motto that says, just start, the world will catch up. And that's what that means. It means my grandmother thought I was the greatest singer in the world before she passed away.
That was a little nag at me all of last year. Every time I would see
Don't want to be in their
that.
way.
Actually.
We didn't know before that this way, now we know.
Nope, it ends. It flat out ends. But
It is pretty. Yeah. Nice glasses. You bet.
They're fun, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
They just know those leaves I got a while back.
Well, they look cool, buddy.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
that's one thing I thought would be cool about doing this way, because you're getting all these distractions.
Right.
I thought that'd make it kind of more authentic too.
Nothing
But
wrong with that.
what I was saying is, what was I saying?
You were saying about your grandma.
I was saying just start, the world will catch up. Is what I'm saying is like nobody, unless you're doing something mainstream, meaning you're getting the 40-hour-week job with the 401k and everything else, everyone's gonna have doubts. There's no way around it, because what they know is structured, whatever. So when you're trying to build something from an idea, just from an idea, meaning there's nothing to back it up. There's no proof that it's gonna work. You have no way of knowing what. You could have 1 million followers tomorrow, and you have no way of knowing that.
Well, I could, yeah.
And you, for all you knew, you could have stopped at 20.
Right.
And you have no way of knowing that. But what kept you going is the fact that you're like, you just gotta hope the world catches up. It's just start. If you just start, the world will catch up. They'll figure out you're the guy that does that thing. And it's happening. I can see it happening. I see the comments in your YouTube channel. I see the fact that you're getting a little more engagement going on. I see the fact that some of your views right away are going up a little higher.
It started happening.
And YouTube, and the thing about YouTube is it doesn't show every view. They're very picky about the views they show. So if you have 200, you're probably
Right.
closer to 1,000. Like, I don't know if you know that, but it's just kind of the way they operate. They're very finicky about their
I
views they
noticed
count.
right away that something was odd about the count, but I can't
But
worry.
they
worry
do that.
about
They do that because they're trying to filter out the. They're trying to filter out the noise of it all. Because
Sure.
like Facebook is, for instance, I don't know. That's gonna get way on a tangent. Sorry, nerdy for a second. Facebook counts every view regardless.
Right.
If it's over 3 seconds, they count it.
Okay.
YouTube, if someone scrolls on it, sees it, clicks on it for 5 seconds, clicks away, they don't count that.
Right.
That's the difference, and that actually is very valuable if you think about it. It's kind of a pain because you know more people are seeing it.
Right.
And I don't know where the line is, and they're very weird with their algorithm, but it makes it harder, which is not a bad thing.
Well, it became clear to me, or it looked clear to me right away, that they were only counting full views.
Yeah, or close to full views.
Like,
It's gotta
I
be over a certain
experimented,
percentage.
I would watch the whole thing and see if it counted mine.
And also, if the same computer watches more than a few times in a day, they don't count it at
Right.
all. They're very, and I think it's a good thing because it keeps it more real.
Right.
It makes sure you know exactly what's happening. And I haven't really doubled down on the YouTube thing. When I get this first U show really started, that's probably what I'm gonna post on there and do it as a podcast if the audio is clear enough. It's
Well-
gonna be a video. We want to do video first, but we want it to be something that can translate to audio. So I don't want it to be reliant on the.
Right.
I'm very.
I wanted a visual component to my show for sure. I wanted to see the guitar. I wanted to see the amp. I wanted to see the pedal board.
Which makes perfect sense.
And
for
our reaction. But the other thing is, I'm trying to, because you're always in a weird spot. It's not entirely for fun. I want it to be a commercial enterprise.
Yeah.
And YouTube is still the largest platform in
And-
existence.
And
So I definitely
the other
wanted
thing
it
about
to
that,
be
the other
on
thing about
YouTube.
that is it's unique enough that I think, and it's unique. It's mainstream in the fact that everyone understands it, but it's unique enough that it can hit that niche market of those musicians and those things like that. And you have room to expand. That's what we were talking about that before.
Right.
You built it in a way that you have room to expand. You can expand to other instruments later. But by starting with that niche of the guitars, that's the most common. Everyone wants to be that guitar player. Everybody does it.
They really do. Guitars are cool. Guitars are sexy.
It's an interest. It's
I,
interest. It's the
I
curves.
have.
It's the curves.
I have the. It is. It is the curve. I have the time to do this, and that is one of my. And when I say that's a blessing, it's a blessing I really didn't want. Hardly.
Yeah.
But I do have the time to do this. I've spent an inordinate amount of time. Now, when I'm wrong on my show, I just say, "Hey, I might be wrong," or "I am wrong." But
Don't talk about what you don't know.
you
Perfect.
can
You're 100%
you can
right.
currently see that I've amassed some body of knowledge concerning guitars
Oh,
and
yeah.
amplifiers.
Oh, yeah.
And it is simply from having way too much free time to spend on the internet. That's the only way I did that.
Definitely.
Quickly going back, one thing you said that I wanted to speak up in defense of the guy with the 40-hour job. Or the girl.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. I wanna
No,
make sure I'm
no,
very
no,
clear. Like, I
there's-
respect everyone who did.
There's nothing wrong, but you almost, and you didn't mean this to suggest that they don't have doubts, too, because they absolutely do.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Like, for example, can I do this job? How many of us get up in the morning?
But on the flip side, what I'll say is they get to look up and say, "Well, I wasn't trained good enough. It's his fault. They didn't give me this. I was this fault." There's always the bosses. There's always somebody to blame.
Right.
When you do like what we're doing, if it doesn't work, it's on you and me.
Right.
It's 100% us. Like you don't have anyone to lean on and say, "Well, most people, I don't think everyone does the excuse thing, but most people if you're not complaining, you got a good life. Go for it, dude. Build the 401k. Retire at 50, 60 if you can manage to do it, because I think that's
Sure.
the goal.
Right.
I've got friends who are working. I have a friend, my neighbor. He works in the oil field right now. His entire goal is to retire at 40, and he is set up to do it.
Right.
He is flat out set up to do it. He's spending almost every dime he has on rental properties and retire and throwing it all in his 401k. He's paying a lump sum for his alimony.
Wow!
He's like literally just getting it all taken care of. Like he wants to set himself
Right.
up to where when he wants to retire, he's done. Respect. I have nothing against that.
And we wish him the best.
Exactly. Honestly,
we want people to
Not just that. He's happy.
Right.
Like if you're happy, just
Good for you.
go.
Right.
But there's people like me. I will never have a full-time job again. I can't do it. I just can't. I can't be the best person I can be.
Right.
The negatives in me get amplified by about 200% when I'm doing that, because I hate not being in control of my own destiny.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I know that I can climb the ladder and make a decent income, but I also know with this, the ladder, there is no ladder. The potential is through the roof, whereas there's a ceiling with almost every other job. It's completely predicated on my skills, my talent, my whatever I can make work.
At the end of your life, you'll have nobody to blame but you.
Exactly, and that's just it.
And that's the way you want it.
And some people, that's hard. It's hard not having
Oh.
someone to point at.
Absolutely.
Like even now, like if a gig doesn't work out, I look at it and say, what did I do wrong?
Right.
If a gig doesn't work out, I'm like, okay, where did I fall short? I wasn't advertising good enough. I don't blame my client. That's stupid. Anybody who works in client service, you understand this. You do not blame the client ever. It's always your fault. Deal with it.
I do, and this almost differentiates me because I would love to be an entertainer. I would like to at least have a side hustle as an entertainer, but honest to God, Harley, I don't think I would have to. If I were making $70,000 a year doing something else, I think I would be okay.
You'd be okay.
I just
You'd be
want to
content.
make.
Yeah. You'd be
I want to make a living, Harley.
that makes sense.
Really,
Exactly.
I do. But at the same time, I have time to do my show.
And I know you enjoy it.
I do love
That's what
my
matters.
show to death.
That's what matters. You
and
enjoy it.
going back to my original point, the only question that matters, and last summer before I started the show, and there, I had a million reasons why not to. It seemed too hard and too easy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I would see a post from you, and I'm not making this up, and it would say, just start, the world will catch up, and I'd be like, damn it, I need to start. Another day has gone by and I haven't started.
Well, that means a lot. That means, and you know what? That makes. If you were the only one that did that, that made that entire year worth it. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like it's.
You're welcome, dude.
Like you have no idea. Like that made the entire. Like if one person just, even if it doesn't work out,
Right.
you will end it knowing you tried. Like that's just it. Like you said earlier. Like it's like, did I try?
Yeah.
And that's
and that's the only. Your grandma. I've had people tell me I can't. And to that point, it is my opinion Bob Dylan can't sing to save his life.
But look,
He's made William Hung could not sing by everybody's opinion.
This takes me to this. That actually takes me easily into the like the other little saying that I have that I have, the one that's going to be the narrative of the show actually that we're making, is don't be the next Bob Dylan. Be the first you. And that actually came from a rant I gave a little over a year ago, where I was like talking about, and I just happened to, I remember this story about Garth Brooks, where he went to Nashville once and didn't get anything out of it. But he met a lot of people that could get him anywhere.
Right.
And he was doing these imitations of Merle Haggard and some other different big stars at the time, and they all loved it. They were impressed. But it's like the question they asked is, does he have a voice of his own?
Right.
And that's why he didn't get a record deal. Didn't get anything, and nothing happened for him. He knew the right people. He just didn't show the part they wanted to see.
Right.
And so when I look at this, I'm like, Garth Brooks didn't get famous being the next. George Strait was the big artist, that was the big one at that time. He didn't get famous being the next George Strait or the next Merle Haggard or the next Conway Twitty. He got famous being the first Garth Brooks.
He did, yeah.
And that's what I said. So don't try to be the next Garth Brooks. Be the first you.
Right.
And once I said that, I didn't even say it on purpose, and it just kind of clicked. I'm like, I'm gonna say that every single chance that I freaking get because it's the truth. Like, there's people that do, like, your show is very different than mine now, especially if this works. If this works, I think it'll be amazing.
It will be amazing.
I think
that's a good shot. It's mostly you in this hat. It looks good.
Let's be honest, though. You can't. You put two good-looking motherfuckers on the screen. It's gonna be a good shot either way. No, I'm joking. But like, that's the truth. It's like self-awareness. I think is the most valuable tool. When my grandmother said that, I could have been discouraged.
Right.
No, I got a chip on my shoulder is what happened.
Right.
I got a chip on my shoulder. I really did. When I was a freshman in high school and I went to choir, and I went to men's choir, which is everybody gets in. They're great. They're great kids, and it's the passing point where CU gets to go on to the choirs that can sing better.
Right.
Kind of thing. It's the one. I could have been a men's choir 4 years in a row if I couldn't sing.
Right.
I went there freshman year, and I remember going through this whole process, and at the end of the year you have to audition to be in concert choir. And I was auditioning for that. I was auditioning for that thing. I was sitting with Mr. Sidewalk, who was the choir teacher. Amazing man, by the way. He's my dad's choir teacher too. Mr. Sidewalk, if you watch this, please comment or something because you're amazing. You were the biggest turning point in my life. I just want to point that out. It's always a teacher from high school. You notice that?
It is.
It
is.
But
in my case, it was my first.
He sat on the piano. We went through everything. Played. Found my highest note. Found my lowest note. Went through some exercise. Said find the harmony. Said find this. Did all these different things, and then. At the end of it, I'm sitting down, and he's going through the paper, comes back out, and he tells me I didn't make it.
Oh.
Like, I'm not good enough. Like, I wasn't good enough. And I quit choir.
Mm-hmm.
I did that sophomore year in high school, I did not go to choir. I didn't get a letter because I didn't go all 4 years.
Right.
I didn't go to choir. I literally just was going to give up. And then as soon as I gave up, that chip on my shoulder came back. I'm like, no. I'm gonna show these sons. I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna do it. It's like I default into that.
Right.
So I almost love my haters. I really do.
Right.
I don't have a lot, but I got a handful.
Right.
And I almost love them because every time they comment or say something mean, it's like it's almost like someone complimenting me and pushing me forward.
Right.
And I went back at the end of sophomore year. It's like, maybe I'll just try out again. It's like, I almost thought it was senseless. I thought it was a stupid idea.
Right.
But I was working hard on my own. Without the guidance of a choir or anything like that. Just doing, that was actually sophomore year was the year I started my business. I was 16 years old. I bought my first PA.
Right.
My $1,000 car moment. I think I told you about that before. Did I tell you about that in the show? I can't remember if I did or not.
I believe so. Yep.
Everyone has their $1,000 car. My $1,000 car was a $1,000 cheap PA.
Right.
That I still have. But I literally went back there, went through the process all over again, up, higher, low notes, the whole thing again. He went through the whole spiel, played something. I had to sing it back to him and try to mimic it as close as possible. And he went back in that office again, and I swear to God, it was not 5 minutes, it was 2 hours. I was just sitting there like this, like holding my chair, just rocking back and forth. I'm a fidgeter as it is. And I'm grinding the legs of the chairs into the floor, and I'm sure that the custodian hated me. And he comes back out, and he just walks up and says, I can tell you've been singing. And he goes, like, well, yeah, a little bit. Well, it was a lot of bit. Every freaking day, every chance I got, driving everybody in my house crazy. But then he said, well, congratulations, welcome to concert choir. And that was the biggest, coolest moment of my life. I'm not going to lie, that was like the moment. I could play the Grand Ole Opry tomorrow and it won't mean as much as that moment right now.
Right.
I could literally, it wouldn't mean as much to me. So like, for me, it's like, I almost want that chip to stay. I almost get, when people start saying, you're a really good singer, or those Facebook videos don't do you justice, I almost like, no, start bashing me again. Jesus. I get better when I'm being bashed.
Well, there certainly is that. You and I have both had, I think, absolute failures in life. Speaking particularly, I would guess, of our divorce.
Oh yeah.
And whatever it is, you're singing, your divorce, your dreams to be a Broadway actor, the lead in a Broadway play, whatever dream it is, there is some point at which you have to say, or I did, I gave this everything I had, and it ain't in the cards. I know what you're saying about the haters.
Oh yeah.
And this is one of my favorite stories from a YouTube video, the story of a young Zakk Wylde when he joined the Ozzy Osbourne band. And I think, and I may be wrong, we'll go with that as we say on my show.
You said that earlier. You say that.
I think J.K. Lee, the great J.K. Lee, filled in after the death of Randy Rhoads for a while, and then Zakk Wylde. But however it went down, Zakk Wylde was going to step into the shoes previously filled by Randy Rhoads. And Zakk Wylde, of all people, and if you know who Zakk Wylde is, he looks like a biker, he's got a big beard, he's got a Gibson Les Paul with a bullseye graphic on it. That man, it blew my mind. He recounts that he sat down with a notebook and listed all of his guitar skills against those of Randy Rhoads. He sat down and studiously gave himself an honest assessment of his guitar playing ability compared to Randy Rhoads.
I kind of do that too, actually. I'll be honest. Like I actually record myself practicing and look at it. I call it the sports, like the sports guys watching the plays. I think it's kind of like that. Not that you necessarily need to, but I think it's very important for singers. And I don't know how many of you are singers versus other things. I think everyone has their own goals, whatever they are. But for the singers, I think they need to get used to doing that because there's not a singer in the world that likes hearing themselves on record.
No, there's not.
They don't, because what you hear in your head is different than what's actually coming out. Because you're hearing the artist in the back of your mind. Your brain is processing that.
Right.
And I think it's hard because everyone hates hearing themselves recorded. And I think it's important to get numb to that. Because I still listen to myself and I go, I swear to God I have a better tone than that. Like, I just swear to God I do.
But there was Zakk Wylde with a list in front of him of the things that he had decided he could not do.
And he just...
That he couldn't do.
So he just said, I'm not doing it, or did he try to...
He said, I can't compete with Randy Rhoads, even the ghost of Randy Rhoads doing this, or this. Here's what I need to work on. So in that case, his haters became superfluous.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to ask yourself, even if you don't like them, are they right?
That's a good question.
And when you got denied that first year, you went home and worked your ass off.
For a year.
For a year.
For a solid year.
As much as you hated that, you must have decided he was right. on some level.
Oh yeah, he was right. I mean, I heard it my whole life.
Right.
I'd heard it my whole life. You can't sing. That's why I signed up for choir, because I'm like, I need to learn how to sing. I didn't want to sing. I didn't want to sing opera style music. I
Right.
didn't want to sing harmonies, but I knew that I understood well enough to know the best rock guitar player in the world can play classical.
Right.
I just understood that the best musicians in the world know all styles. So I started listening to, I don't know if you know who Charlotte Church is. She's a young, kind of an opera type singer.
Right.
I started listening to.
heard
I started listening to her, and she's more of a cover artist. She does a lot of
Right.
covers, and I think she has a handful of originals. But the CDs I had, it was all from her being like, she was about my age, a
Okay.
little older than me.
Right.
So like for me, it was like watching somebody that's an amazing singer do stuff that's close to my age, so it's within my realm. As opposed to
Right.
listening to, you don't want not somebody that's way up in the stars kind of thing.
Right.
And it just made it doable. And then I started practicing even more of that style, and then I don't know what happened. It just at some point it clicked, and when it clicked, that was enough.
Right.
And that's all I needed. I just needed a click point. And I kind of tell people that with everything they do. Is like at some point things will click, and all of a sudden everyone can't deny what you do.
Right.
The world catches
Absolutely.
up. The world catches up.
It does. But it takes work of some kind. Like, I would say, I have trouble saying that what I'm doing on the show is work. I came
is.
from
It
a
is.
ranch, and again, not that
It's a mental
I
work.
need to
It's a mental work, not
it's a
physical.
mental work, but and I don't even know how to put a value on it because like you can charge so much a foot for a fence. You take a cow to the sale barn. I don't know what a song is worth.
The song is worth. You know what? I heard a talker, Gary Vaynerchuk, talks about this.
Okay.
You know what ROI is, right? Rate of return?
Yeah. Yep.
Or rate of
return on investment.
return on investment?
Yep.
What is the ROI of a basketball? To
I
me-
would have no idea.
To me, 0.
Okay.
To LeBron James, $1 million.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
So
Right.
I think talent's the variable. Like
Sure.
it really is. It's a
Okay.
variable. But here's the thing. I don't get to decide what's good. You didn't get to decide that Bob Dylan couldn't sing. Like it's going back to it's the truth. You didn't get to make that
Right.
decision.
I didn't.
The market got to decide.
Right.
Like, and that's one of those Gary Vaynerchuk things that he brings up, that it's like it really humbles you down to realize you just have to find what people connect with. That's what. And actually, I don't know if we talked about this at all during your show, but the thing I actually love about this business isn't so much. I'm not romantic about the music I sing.
Right.
Like I said, I ventured into every kind of music. I was singing Creed. Do you think of me singing Creed?
Well, we're talking about establishing your own identity.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you have to improvise.
But
You have to do what the crowd wants.
what I love wasn't so much. What I love so much is not so much the songs that I sing, and a lot of people get really romantic about that. Or
Right.
the way that it's put out.
Right.
I mean, I have a mix of a karaoke open mic show where I'm doing the best I can. If there's nobody doing anything, then
Right.
I like connecting with people.
Sure.
That's the part I like. I like you know this. I'll talk for a million. I mean, you and I sit and talk on the phone. It's like, okay, I gotta go, Harley. Harley, I gotta go. Harley, I really gotta go.
We
Well,
do.
see-
That happened.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just reality. I like connecting with people.
Right.
And the thing that I've kind of failed with, in my mind, this is my mind, on my Facebook page and stuff, is I showed the performance side. This is before last year.
Right.
I showed the performance side. I showed a lot of the pictures from my shows, but what I didn't show is me as my personality at all.
Sure.
And like I think the one message you sent me that kind of brought it all home to me was when after we did your show, you sent me that message saying, Harley, there's a lot more depth to you than I realized. and you just told me you've been following me for a year.
Right. Yeah.
So now that's why I want to do this kind of stuff, because I want more of it to be out there. I want people to see who I am, and they can hate me. That's okay.
Right.
I just want them to see more of who I am, and that's kind of what this show is all about.
Well, I think online entertainers definitely need to, and not cater to their community, but engage with their
Excuse us.
online community. It's very important. You have to, and that has changed so
And that's
much.
hard. It's hard
And
because it used to be all about putting out the perfect material.
Right.
And this production that was amazing, and then that was what it was scaled on. But now I honestly believe that authenticity. This is a cell phone video. If this works, it's going to be amazing. By the way, because it takes a lot of the work out.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm a musician. I like to do things the easy way.
That is one point that we should make. This is not as physically or as technologically hard. If I can do this, any boneheaded moron. Those first 15 or 20 episodes of my show were done on my cell phone.
And there's nothing, and that's perfect. And it
This
worked.
cell phone right here.
And it worked.
iPhone SE.
And this is going to be on a phone too, so we'll
Yep.
see. Like, I guess we're going to find out. I guess I don't know yet.
Literally, back to his point, just start with your phone.
and it has everything you need. Like,
It does.
You can
It
market
really does.
from it. You can do everything. And if you don't know how to market, good news. You start marketing, you figure it out pretty quick. It's actually pretty easy. It's not easy, but in sense of big scale. But all you're doing is fighting for people's attention.
You are. Yep.
That's it. You're just trying to get people to notice what you're doing, and if they like you, they stick around. If they don't come back. It's kind of like doing a show, really.
Right.
I can get everyone to show up at my show. Anyone who, if it's a show, if I was doing a show of me just doing country music, the rock fans will leave eventually. The country ones will stay. And You just
Right.
keep snowballing that.
Yeah.
And you're not looking for everyone to like what you're doing. You're looking for the right people to like what you're doing. Let's go this way.
This is
You almost biffed it over there. So
I
we'll
did.
go that way.
This is a separate subject. We're about to go off on another 45-minute tangent.
Yeah, it's okay.
But not necessarily. I was truly blown away by the type of people who attended the Culture Wall show last year.
Oh, yeah.
At the Iron Horse.
I honestly think that music's becoming more fluid. I think people are. It used to be when I was a kid, you were either into rap, rock, or country.
Right.
You didn't cross lines. You didn't
Right.
cross lines. Now it's like everyone's into everything. And there's still some haters of country music. Y'all need to come around.
Well, there are different kinds of country music, and Culture Wall is not doing top 40 country. Culture
that's-
Wall is. I think those people are responding, number one, to
I'm
an
just throwing you in
amazing
the branches every chance I
bass
get.
voice, but to a sense of vulnerability.
I
The
think.
man sounds like he's about to cry when he starts singing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people respond to.
Well, I think it's also important for people to listen, to be open and listen to other, different kinds of music.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a couple of metal bands I listened to that I was surprised how much I liked them.
Right.
And the reason why is because I'm not really a metal guy. I'm just not. I just never have been. I wasn't into rap that much either. But Bud Holly is a local artist. Is one of my favorite guys to listen to right now. He's just creative.
Right.
It's when you get past the I can't listen to this or I have to listen to that. It actually opens your mind to a big world, and it affects how you. When I'm writing, it affects how I write. It really does. Like, and honestly, it makes it better. Even though I'm still sticking to my country style,
Right.
It affects how you write and the phrasings you use and some of the chord progressions you use that you wouldn't think you would use.
Sure.
And it's just, I need to start putting out more of my music. That's where I actually that's where I get self-conscious in my original stuff.
Well, I must confess, I now approach a concert or a CD or a release in some ways almost clinically, where I'm listening for not the song, but what do I like? What are they doing right? What are they amazing at? What would I have done differently?
Fall in love with the artist, not the song. Yeah.
What's that?
They fall in love with the artist, not the song.
Well,
it's a different
what
thing.
what they're doing in that.